I have faith that the Constitution will not be saved in Washington.
In the coming day, Jesus Christ will return to the earth as the Millennial Messiah, or the second coming. Do you see what is happening right before our eyes? Second coming of the Lord. Jesus Christ will govern from Old Jerusalem and the New Jerusalem, built upon the American continent.
Travis went good, so that worked out perfectly. Got the laundry done. So I said my name first because I'm deciding to put this third segment at the beginning of the video, so that those few who have been following me for a while will be able to get the point of the video first, and then understand that you still need to watch the intro segment as well as the discussion segment that leads into this to understand this. So if you're brand new, keep watching. It'll all make sense. So, tomorrow is the election. We don't know what will work, what they've got planned, but we know destruction is coming. As I'd have to explain to, can't do it. Just keep watching. And so let's get this out of my way. And so the fall of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has to happen. Mormons have no clue that they're supposed to be Jewish. They have no clue who's their leader if the church prophets flee as prophesied, and that there's no leadership running the church anymore. They have no clue where to go, what to do. They're lost. Faith crisis galore. Trauma galore. Mormons are lost and fallen with the prophesied destruction of this valley. And so, in order for the prophecies to happen, that transfer from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to me, again, keep watching. is required so that Mormons know, so that that peaceful transition of authority is made without denialism. See, I don't know how it will happen. The church will never admit that they're wrong. And so, however it happens, it has to happen in order for Mormons to make the conscious, willing choice to go to Zion. Not being compelled like Laman and Lemuel that I talk about if you keep watching. And so the Exodus for the House of Israel of the northern tribes is on the 16th of October and is Saturday, the Jewish holy day of Sabbath. Keep watching. They do not acknowledge the holy day of the Israelites. That's why I almost missed it. And so keep watching as I go over further information about this special week for you from the previous video that I did on this. And so whether there's got to be time, that transition, the church has to sell all their assets, they have to pull from the stock market, they have to pull it from all over the world, and offshore bank accounts. They've purposely been hoarding money for this big event tomorrow. They've been paying the Judas price to make it all happen. And so all of that needs to be liquidated and transferred, and ideally a Sunday for Mormons who go to church to be told at the pulpit by their bishops, the church has fallen. I'm reading the following statement. And the internet will just be flooded by Mormons doing videos on this, so that the word gets out to ex-foes as well. Ex-Mormons are excommunicated. Foes are former Mormons who left because they were smart enough to realize the church is lying to them, or they've been physically abused in some form or fashion. The church can't be true if they're being abusive. It's not love. Even though you may sing, it's cruel to be kind in the right measure. We don't have a theme song yet, do we? In the description below. And so, as I've done the video previously about this, regarding the economics of Zion, that it's what you need and what you want, the bishops would be the ones in charge, as that's the structure currently in place, even though Nelson took away the home teaching program, which would be very effective for this kind of thing, but still can work out in an orderly fashion so there are no bugs in Zion. It's from the scripture. You have to watch my videos. And so he would be doing the interviews of those who want to go. Make sure that you're able to go. If you're being held hostage in a treatment center, torturing you, trafficking you, abusing you, physically and sexually, if you're unaware of the news in Utah, it's hit the fan this year, dear God. And then ABC had the audacity to promote the church's ban on porn. That's part of the sexual abuse of psychology that the church fully embraces. But nonetheless, or in a nursing home, or if you are in a divorce situation where you are required to continue to pay child support or alimony, or any other kind of financial obligation that is legitimate, that's where the bishops have to find out, because we're not gonna make your problems go away. That's what the church does. They're the ones that put you in that position in the first place. But situations like a marriage situation, if both of you are still Mormon, or even if you're not, and you want to go to Zion, your bishop is the one who would be able to find out the information as to the ex who's holding you hostage, unless you're the man. All men are victims. Won't get into that. This is where the bishop would help out with this. He is not supposed to judge you anymore. That is done and over with. He is just the one, because he has the computer access and the secret codes to get access from the central database, and can make the calls necessary. That's why we're using the same system. It's the same thing that the Romans did. They paved the roads in the whole region based on the Osirian cult that had been making the paths, walking paths, throughout the region. And so when Rome started paving the roads, it was the roads that the Osirian cult order had already established, for the most part. And so thus, when Christianity came around after Roman Emperor Constantine, then even the therapeutic groups likewise used those roads of the Roman, during the Roman period of time. So, don't want to get too into other tangents. We're using the systems that are already in place. To get to Zion, yes, we're using the roads that are already in place, the freeways and such, to make it happen. We're using what is available to us. So understand it in that context. And so if your ex is also wanting to go, great, you're free from your bondage to her. Because you're both going. But yeah, this would be the thing for your bishop to determine and find out about. But again, no judging. It's a no judgment zone. This might be difficult for people to accept, especially ex-foes. I am not going to that bishop. I don't blame you. But like I said, no more judging. All you have to do is say, hey, I heard that those who want to go to Zion are to talk to you. And you say, yeah, come on in. What you got going on? And then he'll get you set up so that you go in a caravan and scare Fox News. We've got caravans all over the United States. It's the Mormons. They're eating their pets. They're rapists, pedophiles, Satan worshippers from outer space. Kolob, they said. You knew it was trouble when you heard it. You knew. And you fell for the trap of turning it Christian. I warned you in videos numerous times. didn't listen to me. But it's expected that Fox News will have bigger things to worry about. But we'll see. And keep watching the video. Dear God, it's 1 o'clock. I may not be able to get to these other 2 videos. Maybe Bednar's for the church news video tonight. That's the second priority video. Watch the first segment. And so, then what will happen is that all the bishops will take their group to Zion, rather than coming to a central location that I had set up back in 2020, which was for the parting of the waters for us to pass through on dry ground. Keep watching. So in this particular instance, no, it'll be the bishops set it up, they will take you when you're approved and all's ready to go. And so it will depend on the particular ward boundaries as to when your particular group will be going at that point. And so everybody will be arriving at the Zion location. Give you a hint, it's not Independence, Missouri. But that'll be part of the confusion that I talk about in the other 2 segments. And so they'll be given the location to go to, and they'll be in charge of getting you there. And so it's like the Pioneer Trek, but better organized and less abusive. God. Okay? And so, yes, there will be some problems, as America could be in a civil war during this time period. We don't know yet. Have to wait until tomorrow. As I tell you in the rest of the video, there are backup plans in case certain things don't happen that they were planning and plotting for. And so then the tents get established at the Zion location, just like Lehi set it up. Okay? And then 28th, Thanksgiving. And so I hope it doesn't take all the wards that long to get here. Around the world, yeah, you're going to have to hold off. Because even though America may be in a civil war, there's still a federal government in place. Maybe. Again, that's one of the backups, and eventually the final solution. So understand this, is that those outside of the United States, unless you are an American citizen, you cannot just come across the border. Fox News will have a cow. They'll be freaking out. What's up with this Mormon charge? So, yes, missionaries have to be called home. That's another thing that needs to happen with the transition to make this happen, is that whether it's when the transfer happens, obviously the missionaries would need to be notified by their mission presidents to come home, and then when they get home, then the Sunday would be the ideal time to find out why they were sent home, as Mormons are going to be spreading rumors and stuff about why their missionaries are coming home from all over the world into their specific countries where the church doesn't want to send those who are non-white outside of their country. Keep them within. Not racist since 1978. And so that's going to be a situation to deal with as well. So yeah, this will be big news, at least within Mormonism. Whether or not the world finds out about it, it prophesies that yes, they will, but only in the context of America's troubles. So it's unclear what the enemy will succeed with and when they will succeed with it. But that's what we're looking at. Church falls, transfer of authority, the selling off of assets, missionaries come home, announcement to all the church that hopefully the Mormons will do YouTube videos and Facebook posts and Twitter posts and Instagram, whatever they use, so that ex-Mormons will then find out about it, do their videos to cover it, so that other ex-foes will learn about it. And anybody who wants to come to Zion would then report to their bishop. And now everybody understands why the missionaries were sent home. And the bishops would get you set up and then take you to Zion. That would be the plan. So it's unclear as to who I would go to. Maybe I'd be all alone in that one too. We'll see. Okay? So that is the Exodus. If everything goes smoothly. Because if it doesn't go smoothly, like I covered in the previous segment, it'll be utter chaos and there will be no Zion. Understand this. If the prophecies do not happen, all is lost. Or as Joseph Smith said, utterly wasted, and precisely as it stands in our New Testament, utterly destroyed. Just like the Book of Mormon warns, if you don't repent, destruction, utter destruction. Sorry to spoil the end of the Book of Mormon for you. So, there you go. Is this a 2-hour video? God. Alrighty. I think that's it. Let me check over the notes from way back when I did the Exodus plans. And so yeah, if you're not even a Mormon or if you're an ex-foe, understand this is not going to be the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints anymore. There will be no judging of bishops and such. So yes, if you don't want to be a part of the Civil War and thus the World War that will follow, yeah, you're welcome to come. You just have to follow our rules. There will be no monetary system of economy. Understand that. If you're thinking you're going to become filthy rich, ain't going to happen. There is no monetary system of economy. There will be no rich, there will be no poor. And I've done the video on the economics, so go to that video. I don't know where to go to find it. How long have you been on YouTube? And so, yeah. Some of this is outdated, but I gave you the updated information. So yeah, the bishops will be in charge of where you sleep and providing you with food and other essentials for the trip. Road trip! And so yeah, then arriving in Zion, it will become tent cities until Zion starts getting built. And so yes, the bishops also will be asking you what skills, education, knowledge you have so that when you arrive in Zion, we will know how to get you to help with whatever is needed. And eventually there will need to be rescue operations to get others outside of the United States who don't have American citizenship to come to Zion. The scriptures prophesy of the kings helping out with this by kicking out Americans or those of a particular religion, bringing them to Zion and life evermore. Hosanna, Hosanna. To refer to the hymn. And so yeah, there'll be a base of operations at Zion when you get there for you to check in. There'll be a med center and a communications, and obviously there will be a temporary storehouse for food and other essentials. So that's all the Zion part. Okay, we're done. Travis, my good soul. So, knowing of the impending danger to all our lives, and as you can see, I'm doing laundry today. I have several videos that I wanted to do today, and with the other things that have been happening, I thought it would be important to do the most important one first for you, that of Exodus prepping, rather than the Elder Bednar. I spelled it Bednap. Elder Belknap was a missionary companion of mine, but I had forgotten his name. He was my fifth missionary companion in Brooklyn. After the previous one, who I can't remember his name, he came home with the first sister missionary to serve in Coney Island while we were there. So I got plenty of missionary experiences, stories for that time, as I was his companion, having to watch and listen as he flirted with her. And then they got married, came home on the same plane, have lots of babies, living happily ever after, right? They didn't get divorced as the typical Mormon couple does. But Bednar was speaking about the dangers of AI, and that is a real threat for this election. As I've been going over with you, AI, how it is just a malware virus. It is not intelligent. It is not an imitation brain. It is literally programmed to be evil, to be the Terminator, the rise of AI. And another one has to do with William Law. A guy did a video claiming that William Law knows the truth about Joseph. No, he doesn't. So again, it would be another situation where, because I have learned the facts of church history, I haven't gone over every single Mormon, but I can now do a video on every single Mormon, do a live research video for you. The last one I did for you was George Reynolds. I don't think I did Romney. I did that separately and didn't do a video for you on that. But I did in this morning's video bring him up, I think, or was it last night, about how Lee is direct Danite descent. Romney was adopted in Danite descent. And so William Law will go over for you. And so those are lower priorities. So I did get to John Oliver's episode that I talked about this morning, seeing on YouTube. And good for him for bringing it out before the election rather than on Thursday. He already has over 1 million views in the 9 hours when I began watching it after that video I did this morning. But unfortunately, he exposed himself as an anti-Semite, and that's what his whole video thing was yesterday. About encouraging pro-Palestinian terrorism to vote for Harris, not Trump. God. And so, yeah, he is clearly ignorant about the causation of October 7th and the reality of it, falling prey to the hype and the lies of Palestine regarding this, as it is disturbing that only Fox are supporting Israel. Very disturbing. And I know it's only because it helps promote Trump. Because all evangelicals for Trump are doing it because they think Trump is going to be King Cyrus of Persia to get their kingdom come, their will be done on earth for the millennium. Where Jesus is coming through his chosen vessel Trump to purposely cause the bloodbath. I'm not sure how they're going to handle rapture, if they're just going to say kidnapping, mass deportation. I woke up, my neighbors are gone. But they're the enemy, as Fox News tells us. They're the ones eating pets and sex trafficking at the border, the southern border, and a caravan of terrorism. And they're killing Americans. Little white girls across America are being murdered by the immigrants, the illegals. So, lots of chaos that is already going on. And with AI as a threat, as I've been warning you about it, they're pushing it. It's boosted to trillions of dollars in value already. And so our government's not stopping it, despite the terrorist threats to our national security. And it's an election year, and the news keeps posting about how AI is spreading misinformation and disinformation, not just about the election. And teens are committing suicide because AI told them to kill themselves. But there's also other dangers, one of which are not just the sleeper cells in America from China, Russia, and Iran, or Islam, but I think even some others, but that would be Islam as well. Nonetheless, is way back in 2014, 2012 maybe, the news was reporting about how Russia regularly runs tests on our electric grid throughout our nation. They just see if they can still turn it off whenever they want. And over the years, yeah, they've run successful tests. Yep, we can still do it. America has never dealt with infrastructure to fix this problem. As Congress is too divided over power struggles to deal with providing Americans with a prosperous America. And so, because of this weakness in our power grid, we are also vulnerable to that. And so, tying into this Exodus, there for tomorrow, well, the fall for tomorrow, the chaos tomorrow, even though they do have backups, I'll try to remember to get into that as well, is the concern that right before the strike, that's what you do in war. You cut off communications, you cut off power, you cut off utilities. And then you go in. So that the people are literally in the dark, unable to know what's going on, unable to communicate. People are helpless. This is a war strategy and is very effective on lesser developed countries that you're going to war against. And with AI that can now be involved, we have a potential danger of a fire sale for the election. And so if they don't do it first thing in the morning, as a thief in the night, if they don't do it during the day while people are voting, there is the possibility that they would do it in the evening, late in the evening, when results from the East Coast start coming in. And a number of the bigger states would show Harris winning in those particular states until we start getting into the MAGA dominated states in the Midwest section. And so I can see, if there were to be a terroristic threat of a power outage or an AI fire sale, an AI internet block, as I think everything is dependent on AI for the internet, for our news and communications now, isn't it? But yeah, I can see that causing mass panic and refusal to accept the election results. If you get a nationwide blackout of any kind, people will not be able to trust it. You'll get those conspiracy theorists who say that that was a cyber terrorist attack that changed the votes, and Speaker of the House becomes president on the 20th of January to allow Trump to be president. I can see the dangers that we are facing. So, that's why I'm trying to do laundry and some other stuff today in preparation if something were to happen. Like I said, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has backup plans. And so, if they can't trigger Americans to cause a civil war for this election, or the day after, or in the coming week, if they aren't able to cause a delay sufficiently in numerous states to prevent election results from being official, then they've got the backup plan on the 20th of December, which, even if there are delays in finding out who actually won, and they can make it last until December 20th, that's the deadline for the budget bill. And so I can see Congress specifically refusing to pass a budget bill to fire all the federal officers, or lay them off is what it is. especially the contractors. And right before Christmas time, as an extortion threat to have Trump win. And of course, if that somehow fails, the next backup, January 6th, in which you'll have to have states refusing to accept the results. They'll likely have to have an assassination of Harris so that she, as the vice president, doesn't get up and do the ceremonial certification. And then the final thing, January 20th, where if no president has been decided in the election, Speaker of the House becomes temporary president, for which he will then declare Trump the winner, and Trump becomes president. And so all the hopes and dreams of all the women to vote for Harris will be crushed, as America will fall that way. And mass executions, mass deportations, mass locking up in concentration camps across the nation. In case you forgot what it was like under Trump. That was just the test run, so says Oakes, who got leaked by a Little Sister missionary. So, the religious part of it is of vital importance, because if the church were to fall tomorrow, hypothetically, great and abominable church falls and it's tomorrow, Mormons would be lost. They wouldn't know where to turn for truth. They have trusted and have been made dependent on whatever the church tells them to believe, and then now it's gone. Who leads the church? Do we still have a church? You know, you're going to get all sorts of people rising up saying, I'm now the leader, I'm now the leader. It's going to be the exact same pattern when Joseph Smith was assassinated. Nobody's going to bother to read their scriptures to see what the scriptures say what to do. There's going to be chaos and confusion because the church doesn't want you to study your scriptures. The whole footnoting program was a cover to make you believe you were studying your scriptures. They had purposely put certain footnotes in so that you would just read them and learn from them. And over the years, I've heard many a teacher in church, in Sunday school or elders quorum, or the sacrament, in which they are claiming that the footnotes are scripture, despite the errors, numerous errors contained therein, let alone the misinformation and disinformation, diversionary tactics away from the truth, from those who would actually study their scriptures. That's the whole point of the footnotes. The best of the church's intelligence was used for that project to help Mormons who are not the best and the brightest in Mormonism. And so Bruce R. McConkie was involved in that process, as he was considered among the best and the brightest. And then others who were not so best and brightest were also involved. But they were because they were seminary teachers, such as Ballard. So there's some blatantly obvious differences of levels of intelligence when you go through your footnotes. I recommend, for the blatantly obvious, going through the footnotes of Isaiah. Not in the revised version with the guide to the scriptures in foreign languages, the original one, Isaiah. Because I was able to fix a lot of the Isaiahs. You're welcome. Not all of them, but I was able to help. Because the IEs and ORs were the rejections of Avraham Gileadi in the Hebrews. And then there was some other couple of Mormons who were involved in the Greek. So that you understand. So in the New Testament, if you see an IE or an OR, that's because the Mormon who did the Greek was rejected by the supervisor, or Bruce R. McConkie, or whatever, because it went against the church's revisionist doctrine. So anyway, that's not the topic of the video. And so, if everything is going to be orderly, there are certain things that have to happen. The church has to fall. They have to transfer everything to the Jewish Christ. Please tell me you know about him. You don't if you're brand new. It's just so frustrating that I have to repeat information. I should just be able to say it and everybody knows what I'm talking about and I can move on. And only if I have a misspelling because of my associative memory, saying Brigham instead of Nelson, or Nelson instead of Brigham, or section 116 rather than section 19 in this morning's video. But I corrected myself after that, so there's no need for a comment below. But you got to keep listening to catch it. You got to get that far in anyway. Section 103, verse 16. For the redemption of Zion, the Lord God will raise up unto Mormons. So it's not Jesus. That's why you do not see it referenced to Deuteronomy 18:15 or Joseph Smith History, verse 40, or Acts chapter 3, verses 22 and 23. They don't want you to know that this is our Christ. He's just a man. He's just a Mormon. He's just an elder. Only an elder. Right, was it Ballard? Or was it Packer? One of them. Who shall lead Mormons like as Moses led the children of Israel. For Mormons are the new Israelites. Must be led out of bondage. So this is why the church doesn't want you to make the connection. They don't want you to understand that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is holding you in bondage with section 119 tithing, and also with polygamy of section 132. This church is the great and abominable church. This church is the enemy that Joseph Smith refers to in verse 1. As that is not the name of Joseph's church. Okay? So, Book of Mormon likewise is Jewish. It is not Christian. And so, using the prophecy and revelation day and hour of the Jews, which Bednar put in his thing, that revelation, yeah, it's now, inspiration is now called revelation. It is no longer called day and hour, time, and of the prophesied event. Just like interpretation of tongues with translation of tongues, or speaking in tongues, interpretation of tongues. You have to have both. You can't have somebody who speaks in tongues because nobody else will understand you, and so it's worthless. The church tries to dismiss that and say that they feel the Spirit when somebody speaks in a foreign language. And Mormons here in this valley, oh my God, what racism. Yeah, they love it to call on those who speak another language to say the prayers. Because in this church, if you are asked to say the prayer, that means the person hates you. But Mormons love it because they don't hear rote prayer number 16, 25, or 87 for the church prayers. And so it's in a completely different voice. They don't understand anything of what's going on, but they all, oh, I heard amen. I heard Jesus Cristo. Church is true. Yeah, you got to have somebody who can interpret it for you. Otherwise, the words are worthless. You can't plant the seed if you don't know how to plant the seed, or you don't have soil to plant it in. And thus where an interpreter would come in that particular instance. So stake conferences throughout this valley will often have the headphones brought out for those who are from the foreign language wards in the stake, so that they can hear too. And there's some cases where I've been to a stake conference where the person is speaking in their foreign language, and so the English speakers don't understand what they're saying. So it's nap time. Are they done? Where am I? Oh, it's still stake conference. Yeah, vacation time. And so, yeah, they used to put fear into people of getting called out of the audience to bear their testimony. But the most stake presidents won't do that. And we're diverting again. And so if you make it into Saturday evening, stake president wouldn't be so cruel as to set you up for a talk. You know, you still could give a testimony, and that could be on-the-spot testimonies, as all members then get scared and, oh, I think I need to go to the bathroom. Oh dear, I left something in the car. I'll be right back. Oh no, did we leave the oven on at home, dear? No, I think we might have. I'll go home and check. Oh, the baby's crying. I got to take the baby out. You pinched the baby. No. I would never do that. You know your church is in trouble when... So, this man like Moses has the keys of the gathering. He's the harvester. Peter, James, and John's keys are for planting seeds, planting the word, planting the Book of Mormon throughout the nation and around the world, because of the threat to the world and the United States of America. Tomorrow, he'll burn you. Tomorrow, we're using Jesus as the excuse. So, the Book of Mormon, being not literal history, is prophecy and revelation for us, and this is what we're about to face. And so, as it is important for you to understand this, as we're coming up on the Israelite Feast of Harvest, Ingathering, Tabernacles, Tents, Sukkot, it's all the same thing. As 1 Kings chapter 12, I did the video for you the other day. I don't think I should stop the video, but maybe I should, to prevent losing the whole content with a power failure. So we're going to get into 1 Nephi chapter 2 and the Exodus for this when I come back. Alrighty. It's a shame that YouTube is part of the enemy threat to America, to promote the misinformation and disinformation, to attack those who tell the truth. YouTube keeps making excuses in their bullying to silence my channel through the algorithm terrorist attack, as false positives are identified when YouTube attacks me with a bullying threat. And so I get punished as if I were the threat when it was actually YouTube who were the bullies in the first place, to set me up to file a complaint and then get punished as the one who's the abuser. And so likewise, this latest one was YouTube banning a comment of mine on my own channel so that I would file a complaint, and sure enough, they again silenced me. And previously they hid comments from Idaho Chick, and so if they did it to Idaho Chick, they've done it to others who I've commented to. Just, they're gone, hidden, so they don't see them, and I don't see them if I were to go back to the video. And YouTube expects that I'm not going to go back to my video to find them, so that I would never know that they are hiding my comment replies to people. And so when I do, then they have it all set up, thinking my behavior will be predictable, so that their bullying response will be predictable. And they punish me. And so, yeah. Also kind of discouraged by Idaho Chick. I did a big major comment for her yesterday to questions she had asked, and put some Hebrew fun stuff in there for her and all. Pretty pictures. And didn't respond. And so I thought I'd send her a couple of links to news that's going on in Idaho. And this morning I saw that she responded to those quick links. Nothing yet on the bigger thing. I'm all alone. Where's my pen pal? Where's my pen pal? You know, I was locked up with Curtis Allgaier. He had a pen pal that he married before being sentenced to prison. Everybody's having fun but me. Why hell? He even gets to have sex with her because he married her. What the hell? Not fair. I've been the good guy. Hilarious. So many jokes in Mormonism. For as long as I've been in it. So yeah, you younger kids, you have no idea about the prodigal son video of the church that the church produced. And his judgmental wife. Who's oblivious to October 7th. The brother knows. So they've got to screw it up. They cannot stick to the theme of the Jews for that. They have to keep it Christian and thus screw it up on purpose to lead Mormons astray. Anyway, 1 Nephi chapter 2. So, in 1 Nephi chapter 1, we see that the year that they give us, according to astronomy, is 2017. That's the first year of the reign of King Zedekiah on the throne of America in 2017. Put on the throne by a foreign government and would be the latter-day king. Yeah, they knew about Trump. They didn't really know about Trump, but the enemy was in charge in finding who would be the guy and thus groom him from birth. And so Daddy was enlisted for that purpose, and sure enough, Daddy was a member of the KKK and then groomed his son to be the guy who would then have a relationship with Putin and be the beast of Revelation 13, thanks to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Anyway, and so Lehi starts his ministry 23rd September 2017. That's the second vision dream. Exact same pattern match with Joseph Smith, second vision. And so Mormons don't believe, and they want to murder him. And so the Exodus. And so this is in a context of the whole of the latter days. This one story, which ends when we get to the shortest sentence in the Book of Mormon, verse 15, chapter 2, and my father dwelt in a tent. Lower curtains, end scene. This is a script writing technique that you've ended the story. And then verse 16, you get Nephi interrupting, talking about he's exceedingly young. Yeah, no duh. You were born on the 23rd of September 2017, which that's read. So no, it's a new story that is being talked about here in verse 16. And so this whole first chapter and second chapter to verse 15 is the whole span of the latter days, starting in 2017, ending 2024. And so chapter 2 is the Exodus. He's of the house of Manasseh. They get, in another story coming up, daughters from Ephraim. Those are northern tribes, Israelites. Lehi is a new Israelite, even though he's living in Utah. Phonetically the same as Judah. Thus, Jerusalem in Judah is a prophecy for Mormons about the Mormon Christ, who is Lehi in this first story. Lehi is the man like Moses of Deuteronomy 18:15. And even though he's got the name Lehi rather than Emmanuel, everybody who knows the learning of the Jews knows this. They're not going to be deceived and say that they're now going to create the religion of the Lehites. Make them the Great Spirit, who has magical powers, created heaven and earth, turns the Jewish scriptures into literal history, blames the Jews for murdering Lehi. But he's coming back for a second coming to get revenge and burn people. No, nobody would ever think of that. That would be stupid. And yet you did it to Jesus, didn't you? Because of Roman Emperor Constantine. No, Jesus is just like Lehi's story here. Just like Moses' Exodus. Just like Samson. Just like all of them that I've been going over with you all these years. And so, this is the latter days. This is what we are focused on. Even though Joseph Smith Sr. is brilliant to put in, and it came to pass that Lehi departed into the wilderness. And later on, we find out it's 600 years from the time of Jesus' birth on 8 April 4 CE. Oops, sorry, both Christians and Latter-day Saint Mormons of Brigham Young, who turned the Book of Mormon into literal history. That's why the church will not acknowledge this. That's why Bruce R. McConkie put 600 BC for the asterisk in 4. It's because they don't want you to know the truth. This is revisionist history, what Bruce R. McConkie did by putting 600 BCE. BC. They won't even do BCE for the science version of it. It's got to be before Christ. Because 1 CE is the birth. And Christians say it's December 25th. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints says it's 6th of April. 1 CE. Sorry, you're denying history and science. Cut it out. Not just being anti-Semitic of the hatred of the Jews. And so, this is the Exodus. This is what we are faced with. We need a fall of the great and abominable church. Here they leave before the fall. It's because it's 2020. But Dallin H. Oaks got caught being recorded by a Little Sister missionary in the Las Vegas, Nevada mission on the 14th of March, 2020, in which he confessed 2020 is our test run for the actual destruction and coup of the government. 2024, here we are, tomorrow. This is it. Mormons, instead of going, oh crap, I'm in the wrong church, I need to quickly learn as much as I can from Travis, getting the thumbs down on those videos where I put Jews in the title. Mormons are evil people, denying and lying to their dying breath. They refuse to accept the truth. They refuse to accept Joseph Smith as their Jewish founder. They refuse to accept the Book of Mormon as the Jewish keystone, explaining the Bible prophecies of the Jews and putting it in the context that Mormons are the Jews of the latter days, of the prophecies, of the revelations. And Joseph Smith is setting it all up for it, like I went over with you in section 103. And so, yeah, 2020 is when everything happened. That's when I was 50 years old. That's the Jubilee year of the Jews. And so 50 years old, I was born in 1970. It's 50 years earlier. Sure enough, prophecy fulfilled. They knew the dates, they knew the events, they knew the people. They knew Nelson by name, they knew me by name. They even knew Trump by name, sort of. Mercury is the Trump of the gods. And so, this Exodus before the coming destruction by Babylon on 9th Ave. Indicates that he left his house, thus his land of inheritance, thus the whole purpose of going to Zion, leaving his gold and silver and precious things, and only taking his family, provisions, tents, tabernacles. There's the Judah Feast of Tabernacles, and there's the Israel Feast of Tabernacles. Lehi is an Israelite of the northern tribes, who, after their deportation by Assyria, there were those who fled into Judah to live, and that's the context, even though this is not literal history. So just like Joseph is assassinated, there are those who go with Brigham Young to the Valley of Utah. This is the prophecy you need to catch. It's already happened. It should be easier to figure out now, rather than still waiting for it to be fulfilled and trying to see if you can speculate and guess. You don't have to anymore. It's already happened. We now know the fulfillment. That's why I'm able to tell you. Okay? And so, Tabernacles is not Passover. Passover events happened in 2020. And so they're saying that 2020 likewise is going to be a test run, which the Passover events will take place in 2020. But the actual Exodus would be this year, in the final year, for Tabernacles, which now makes sense looking back. All this time, from before it began, that #1 video of mine, it's because I wanted to go to Zion, and I told the wife at the time, and she demanded that I give her the date. I just barely started. So I did that video. It's still my #1 video, which is why YouTube shut me down, because the church panicked. Crap, he just exposed himself as the Jewish Messiah, prophesying and revealing to the world it's him. Shut him down! Before people judge him by his fruits. I did not want it to go this long. Okay? And so, goes to the top of the Red Sea, according to the story, and this is the promised land for this story. He has fled, he's now in a new land, and it's there by the sea, and a river of water, and a valley. They set up their tent camp. This is Zion. And unfortunately, Laman and Lemuel got sent. There is no Nephi, because it's Lehi for this story. And so those Mormons who are going don't want to be there. They are compelled to go. And so this is what we're faced. That there will be confusion if it happens. The fall of the church, and nobody knows who I am because YouTube has silenced me. Nobody understands what to do. There's no leadership of the church anymore to tell them what to do with their lives, even though they don't obey them anyway. And so Mormons are going to follow other Mormons who are going to claim to be the leaders, and whatever spiritual witness feeling person tells them is true, they'll follow. They won't go to the scriptures. And so in this particular case, it would be as expected for this coming Israel Feast of Tabernacles. And so this is the context, because the Judah Feast of Tabernacles came and went, and here we come with the Israel Feast of Tabernacles, not to be confused with the Israelites in Israel called Israelis. Modern time, because it's not about them. Notice it is Islam and Christians who had set it all up to attack the Jews in Israel, to force the fulfillment of their interpretation of the Jewish prophecies and revelations, now turned into literal histories. And so they have to do it, not Jesus. Because Jesus isn't real, Jesus isn't going to do it. Christians and Islamists have to do it to force it to be true. And in the end, there will be no Jesus, and they'll just have to say, Jesus is in our hearts, we conquered, and therefore our church is true. Might makes right. That's how it works. And you have a false idol god that you worship. And so, there will be no laymen and lemuels in Zion. It's already set up for this. But before we get to that point, we still have to find out what is planned for the Exodus. That's what this video is about. Okay. So, it's the 16th, right? Yeah, because it's the 15th in the Jewish calendar, which is a day behind our calendar. So the 16th of October is the Sabbath day. And right, Matthew 24. All right. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, the coming of Jesus. They that come shall burn you, not Jesus. But they'll say it's Jesus. Oh, we didn't fire the shots. It's Jesus who worked through us. Blame Jesus. We were just following the orders of Trump. Yeah, the defense lawyers purposely had them use that excuse to try to lessen the sentences, knowing that nobody was going to lock up Trump. Just all set up. And so you need to understand that the abomination of desolation is referring to the corruption of the Jewish temple, second temple, by the Greeks, in which the Greeks took over the land of Judah, which now became called Judea, especially under the Roman period, and thus why you see Judea written in verse 16. But this is all prophecy and revelation. This isn't literal history, but they're using literal history so that people understand what they're talking about for the prophecies. And since it's already happened, we already know what it is. except for the fall and the transfer to the Jewish Mormon Christ, so that the Exodus can proceed in an orderly manner, so no bugs. And so that's referring to the book of Daniel, in which Daniel also had interpreted Nebuchadnezzar's dream about the idol statue god, where Babylon is first, not Assyria. Because this is Jewish scriptures, they don't want to put in Israel scriptures. Thus no Israel holy day for the Jews, for tabernacles. Which is why I almost missed it. And in there, Babylon is first because they were the first ones to conquer Judah, conquer Jerusalem, put their king on the throne, and then come back on 9th Av. That's the destruction date. It's 9/11 for the Babylonian calendar, the original source for 9/11 events. Babylon came in and destroyed the temple, that not one brick remained, and burned it, and then took hostages to Ur of Babylon. And thus there were those who fled, just like with Assyria, coming in and deporting people. And so then Cyrus said, you can go back and rebuild the temple. The Greeks then came, and so you see this in the dream of Nebuchadnezzar. Persia, then Greece, then Rome, and then Christianity. That's a prophecy. They knew that Rome would mingle with clay for the feet. Roman Emperor Constantine, 325 CE. Book of Daniel was written before this. Christianity is part of the evil nations. As Babylon would come from, or Babylon would produce Islam through Muhammad. And so clearly they didn't have that in there. But they did with Babylon as the first source of destroying the temple. Rome destroying it the second time. Babylon produced Islam, Rome produced Christianity. And so the dream is about the restoration of the Jewish religion and kingdom. Not Christianity, not Brigham's church, Joseph's. And so that's the abomination of desolation, is the one mighty and strong who needs to set in order the temple that Brigham Young had been the abomination of desolation. But likewise, Joseph Smith in section 45 prophesies that the Salt Lake Temple will not have one brick or one stone left. Despite the billions that they put into the remodeling and renovation for an earthquake disaster. And I did the video the other day concerned about the movies that I was watching with my associative memory from scriptures for an attack on the church office building at least, but they are going to destroy the works of this church, the enemy, that the church had already paid the Judas price to have happen. And the pit that the church had dug for Mormons is the pit that the church will fall into, the fall. It'll backfire on the church. Evil is stupid. They don't think of consequences. Even though they think of backup plans for chess moves, they don't understand consequences in reality. This is not a chess game. And so, let them who are in Utah flee to the mountains. It's not just warning Mormons not to go with Brigham Young. Hilarious. And it's after talking about false prophets shall arise and deceive many. So there's one. Let him which is in Judah flee into the mountains. And then, verse 24. False Christ, false prophets again. Behold, if he is in the desert, go not. If he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. So don't go to Deseret. Don't do it. And so we have, let them be which are in Utah flee into the mountains. And I've told you, Islam is all set up for an attack. But with an election scandal fraud thing, that could also be a problem. But watching the anti-Semite John Oliver focused on trying to convince Islam to vote for Harris, Utah has a lot of women, lot of Islamists. We are the highest per capita of Islamic centers. And one of my apostles had sent me his picture of the centers in the valley here, whereas somewhere mine is in the files. So it'd take too long to find it because I don't think it's labeled properly. But it's not. Michigan is the focus for this, as there are a lot of Islamists in Michigan demanding a no vote, like Brewster's Millions. None of the above. We're leaving it blank as a protest. And so, that'll just cause Trump to win. That's what John Oliver was stressing to Islamists. You must vote for Harris so that we can finally be done with Trump. But he's ignorant on what Trump has got planned from the orders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. John Oliver is just promoting the false hope and the betrayal of the Jews it's just sick. Lost all my respect, as many other in the press also lost my respect after October 7th. People that I respected and listened to after October 7th, I can't even listen to them anymore. Even if they're talking about another subject, it's still in my mind. They're an anti-Semite. And there are numerous government leaders as well who are calling for Israel to stop. Israel can't stop. Israel can't push for a ceasefire. The enemy is still attacking them. The enemy still has hostages. It's just infuriating that everybody wants to play dumb with Israel when all other wars are covered correctly. Putin is the bad guy. We all know this. And yet, if we were to use the same press coverage of the attack on Israel with Ukraine, Ukraine are the bad guys. Give Putin the land. Surrender. Stop fighting. You're killing Russian soldiers. How dare you use drone attacks in Russia? Stop it. You're not getting into NATO now. Seriously. Unbelievable. So here's a concern. If this is the way it happens, this is going to be the chaos for Mormons. Nobody's going to follow me. However, Joseph Smith says that this will happen, and then I will step up for that. And so it's unclear as to what will work. They've got backup plans in case things don't work for tomorrow. But you need to be aware and as prepared as possible under the conditions. Because it's the enemy that's doing this. This isn't God. God knows what the enemy will do, but the enemy are stupid because of their hate and will make errors and fail. And so, let them that are on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house. Kind of have to in order to leave. What are you doing on the housetop? This is a Jewish thing. It's Jewish culture, the way they built their houses. So yeah, you're running on top of the houses to flee. You don't go back down to get stuff from your house. Neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. Yeah, you aren't gonna, the destruction that they're talking about here is something that you've got to flee immediately. If you don't have your vehicle gassed and packed so that you have the keys on you to leave immediately, and even then, if other people are also taking their cars, you're going to be stuck in traffic trying to get out. And that'll be a traffic jam that will lead to further destruction by the enemy if that's what they're doing. Because the Islamic centers are specifically placed at key infrastructure in Utah. They did them with the intent for this attack, if it will be them. And again, they're part of it. Because if Trump wins in Utah, which we all know it would under normal conditions, Islam is going to be pissed. They don't want Trump because they're going to get deported under Trump. The church has come out in support of Trump. They're going to be pissed with the church. They can read the Book of Mormon. They can see that it's Jewish, no matter what Mormons are telling them that it's Christian. They're not stupid. At least the men aren't. The women are kept from learning, as well as sexually abused, as they wear the clothing of their sexual abuse symbolism. They're forced to wear it. Just like Mormons are forced to wear their sexual abuse, but they're not allowed to show it. So with laundry, yeah, I was thinking about that as I was folding the underwear, doing a video for you, those who leave the church. You know, you've left the church. You have to buy new underwear. Watch my video as I explain to you the different types of underwear to wear now that you're an apostate, anti-Mormon, antichrist horror. Hanes. I was forced to get jockey, and I don't like jockey. It's warped. It does not, it's weird. I don't like it. Hanes, all the way. Michael Jordan knows what he's talking about in advertising. If I could wear like Mike. So, yeah, and if you're pregnant, Alana Brophy, it's going to be very sad. And to those who have young babies, Allison Krogan, and pray that your flight not be in winter. Oh, thank goodness we're only in the fall. Except for the snowstorms we've gotten in the mountains, where everybody's going on vacation to die in an avalanche. Or on the Sabbath. Oops. Yeah, the Israeli tent tabernacles is on the Sabbath and ends on the Sabbath. This is Jewish. Remember, this isn't Christian. This isn't Sunday. It's Saturday. When they say Sabbath, they mean Saturday. They don't mean Sunday. Do not put Christian in there. But this is a thing for the Jews in regards to the Pharisaical laws around the Jewish laws that Matthew is kind of mocking them for. And likewise can apply to Mormons who have created Pharisaical laws, not just turning Joseph Smith into literal history of Christianity and the Book of Mormon. It's because Brigham Young has created hedge laws for Mormons. The covenant path. And so thus Mormons, they're going to be stuck. Oh no, what do we do? It's the Sabbath. We got to go to church. But that would be if it were on a Sunday. But that's what I see coming for this. And so, what I'm getting to is at the end of my videos. Always. I have to lead into it. I have to explain things that I've explained a billion times before because of new people and blah, blah, blah. And so only those who can endure me to the end can find out the information. And so, this will be the worst event in the world's history. Not the Babylonian conquering, not the Roman conquering, not Christian abomination, not Islam, nope, not even Nazi Germany. This is going to be worse. And so false Christs and false prophets shall show great signs and wonders. How can people be a false Christ? Well, they're not Jesus. But they're human here. Do you see this context? The Jewish author understands the concept of a Christ and a prophet. The Jews don't. His Jesus is me. In case you haven't caught on. And so then you see the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven, blah, blah, blah. But we just wanted to cover the Exodus fleeing. And so, ideally, if things work out, this is what I would want to see happen. But first, on the 15th of the Jewish month, to start the Israeli tabernacles, you have King Jeroboam. They do acknowledge it because it's in the Jewish scriptures in 1 Kings chapter 12 that I went over with you the other day. Some other things to pay attention to. On the 16th in 1938, Nazi Germany had invaded 1,400 synagogues and numerous copies of the Tanakh, the scriptures of the Jews, which you call the Old Testament incorrectly. But that's what's contained in them because the Jews got fooled by Constantine too, and so they reject the other scriptures that are theirs. They burned them. 1,400 synagogues and numerous copies of the Tanakh were burned by the Nazi Germans. 1938. So that's interesting. That would be Sunday, Mormons. Sunday. This valley. Let's see if we have a numbering of the number of churches in this valley. Because I think the total number is 30,000 worldwide. How many LDS ward buildings are there in Utah? Do not send me to look for a ward. Oh, good. They didn't put AI first. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Utah. Good. So there's 629 stakes. And so that would be 629 stake buildings. And 5,094 wards. 318 branches that would share the wards or the stake as their building. And so we don't actually know, other than because they combine, and it would be 8 wards per stake, right? Yeah. And then, and so it could actually be 1,400. So that would be really weird. But this is a pattern for the prophecies of the destruction of this valley. By all, Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith, and the Bible. And so thus the burning of the Book of Mormon rather than the Tanakh. Because everybody thinks it's Christian. It's Jewish. And then we have the 17th, which would be Monday. The first temple is completed by Solomon. But in the context of Zion, sure. But that would be Monday. That would be too soon. Unless we leave on the 15th. It only takes 2 days to get to Zion. I did the check. I already found out. 2 days. Unless we go straight through, then it's 1 day. But that means no sleeping. We'll need to stop and sleep. Not everybody will be able to drive straight through. And so the tabernacles would be set up when we get there, if that scenario is what happens. And so understand that Solomon's building of the temple is a prophecy and revelation, not literal history. Though there was a literal history event, but it's not as it is recorded in our Bible. Just know the difference between a prophecy and literal history. And then the other thing of significance during this time period is the 23rd, which is the last day of the Feast of Tabernacles for the Israelis of northern Israel. This is when the Maccabeans, the Hasmonean holy day, commemorating when the Jews took back the temple from the Greeks, the abomination of desolation, of the altar of stones, which were defiled by the Greeks, making bacon. And so they replaced the altars, put new altars in. Thus, the setting in order the house of God, the one mighty and strong, from section 85. And so, in connection with the first temple being set up, this is a clear indicator, as Joseph Smith Sr. would have known this too when he's talking about Lehi. And I forgot to bring it up. Oh my hell. Just remembered. I rushed it. So, verse 7. He gets to Zion. He builds an altar of stones. See the pattern? The Greeks got kicked out of the temple of the Jews. The Jews removed the altar of stones and put in a new altar of stones. And thus have a thank offering. Thanksgiving, which is on the 28th of this month, a week later, at the end of Tabernacles. See how I needed to put this video out first for you? Thanksgiving has been around forever. It's because of the Jews in the Bible. And over time, different cultures and countries and governments and religions adapt it to theirs. But this is where it originates from. Thanksgiving, and it's a week after. And so, the whole concept is the great and abominable church has to fall. The transition to me to get you to Zion. And then we get to Zion, and we set up the tents, and Thanksgiving. See the pattern? So, let's go over what is coming in our calendar. So, it's intended that this election will be sabotaged one way or another. If I need water, so we'll stop here, preserve the video, and I'll be back.